Good morning, Bronzo. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frank Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. If you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our leaders accountable, well, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. You can subscribe to both of our pages, Frankie Olivo on Facebook and Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube. Remember, Good Morning Bronzo will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube to tune in. We will not be silenced. And always remember, fam, always remember, Bronzo, I am forever, ever grateful to each and every one of you for your time and attention. Thank you so much, Brownsville. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. One day closer to Friday. Many people have been asking me, what's the word around the streets? What's been going on? Well, right now, everybody's on vacation mode. It's not until late July, early August, when people start coming back from vacation and they start getting into the thick of things, back into normalcy. It's only the politicos right now that are on tilt 24/7. We do have some stories that we are working on. I am going to wait until late July, early August, and we'll focus on the back to school specials, so to speak. We got some very, very interesting stories that should raise some eyebrows. But again, Bronzo, that is my job, to keep you up to date with everything that is going on. I want to give you the insights into what's going on behind closed doors. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about a very, very interesting topic. Today, we'll be talking about a lease agreement between a church that has hosted South Padre Island weddings over the years, and now Cameron County, the Commissioner's Court, is stirring some confusion. A letter said that Cameron County is terminating the lease of the church, of the chapel, and that this church has until the end of this year to vacate the premises. This discussion that the commissioners held about evicting the church was done behind closed doors, an executive session that was not publicly addressed. What is the reason behind this? Well, that is what we're going to talk about today. We titled our program, Brownsville, Is Cameron County Closing a Church for the Almighty Dollar? That is how we will start today's show. As always, thank you so much, Bronzo, for tuning in.
We apologize for any misunderstandings or concerns that have been raised with regards to the immediate closure of the Chapel by the Sea. That was never intended.
It is a church that has hosted lots of island weddings over the years. Now its lease agreement with Cameron County is stirring confusion. Channel 5's Stephanie Rosales went to the county looking for answers.
Near Isla Blanca Park in South Padre Island sits Chapel by the Sea. It's been around for more than 45 years.
People that are drawn to God, people that come to know Christ better, funerals that we have here, thousands of them, thousands of weddings that have taken place here. That's the return on their investment.
David Bowder has been the pastor for Chapel by the Sea for almost 5 years. Tonight, he has more clarity about a lease between the chapel and Cameron County. He says the county approved a 250-year lease in 1979, so it came as a surprise when a letter arrived in his mailbox. The pastor received this letter by the Cameron County Commissioner's Court Legal Division. In it, it says that the Cameron County Commissioner's Court is terminating the lease of the chapel and that he has until the end of the year to vacate the premises. The letter also says that county commissioners held a meeting on June 2nd to discuss the lease and to take action to terminate it.
Then for items 7A through D, G through L, and N through P, is there a motion to acknowledge and proceed as discussed?
That discussion was held in executive session and was not addressed publicly.
It wasn't really a meeting held that we could participate in. It was a meeting held in executive session. We had no idea. The county's never reached out to us with any questions about our lease.
The Cameron County judge said that letter was wrong. Today, they issued a press release to request a meeting with the chapel to discuss lease issues. Judge Eddie Trevino says the county commissioner's legal team is only reviewing the existing lease to see how much land the church is using and what was in the original agreement. For some people who live on the island, it's still not clear what the county's review means.
And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe that anybody would be, that a group of our own government would be trying to renegotiate on an agreement from 1979.
Judge Trevino says he understands the frustration and confusion from the community, but he wants to make clear that 1979 agreement is still in place and that the county is only looking it over.
Making the jump from reviewing the lease and looking at all of the requirements, both existing and under the lease, versus that we're going to terminate or close the chapel was a big, big leap, and unfortunately one that should not have been taken.
County judge says they are also looking at a possible new agreement where the church can continue operating. Pastor Bowder says he and others are looking forward to an open discussion with the county.
My phone hasn't stopped ringing. I've had hundreds of phone calls of people from all up and in the country and Canada are reaching out and asking what they can do.
Chapel by the Sea will stay open, and the county and church leaders will meet soon to discuss the future. In South Padre Island, Stephanie Rosales, Channel 5 News.
Whenever we think of religion, religion is used as a way for us humans to cope with the realities of life. Is religion important for us human beings? I would say so. Why? Because it helps us in a variety of our issues in regards to our personal matters, social issues, cultural differences, and for psychological reasons. More than anything, going to church, believing in a higher being is meaningful. You find purpose. We always ask the question, why are we here on earth? What happens to us when we die and we open up our eyes? The most important question, what is the meaning to life? What is the purpose of life? Religion guides us. It provides us with morals and ethics, moral codes or commandments that guides us on how us individuals should treat one another. Teachings in the Bible, they often promote compassion, honesty, justice, and humility. Religion also offers comfort and hope. It could be a source for emotional support. Day in and day out, we realize that we're getting older, we're getting more fragile. We're one day closer to death. And religion offers us hope during suffering, loss, and hardship. Believing in a higher being really helps. We seek divine justice of our Almighty God. Being part of a church, it builds community and it makes us feel as if we belong. Religious practices often involve community gatherings, They help us create a strong social bond. We share the same identity. It fosters a sense of belonging with our brothers and sisters and shared tradition. Speaking of tradition, religion shapes culture. Religion influences art, music, literature, holidays, rituals, societal values. Many of our cultural norms and laws have been rooted in religious teachings. Religion encourages us to focus on discipline, and it also serves as a mirror for self-reflection. Practices such as prayer, fasting, meditating, confession, it promotes self-awareness. It encourages us to be better people day in and day out. It encourages us to grow. Religion can encourage people to live with intention and mindfulness. Religion also influences politics and social structures. Throughout history, religion has played a very important role in shaping governments, laws, and social movements. Religious leaders and texts have inspired movements for justice, peace, and equality. I think we can all agree that religion is important for us because it helps us make sense of life. Life is very difficult. And it offers us emotional and social support. It encourages us to live a better life. Again, not everyone is religious, but there are millions, if not billions, of people throughout this world that religion remains a foundational part of their identity and how they view the world. Now, what has been happening here at Cameron County has been very, very interesting. We started today's program in talking about how Cameron County in executive session is considering taking land away from this church that is located in South Padre Island. Now, why is it that county government wants to shut down this chapel by the sea? We would make the argument that there is a great disconnect amongst leadership here in Cameron County in South Texas. We saw how our county judge, Eddie Trevino, through their legal department, they sent a letter to the church, and what the understanding that the church received was that they were going to vacate. They're supposed to close their doors. Now, Judge Eddie Trevino did state that this was a mistake. This was a technicality. When we start talking about the values of the Valley of South Texas, I think you and I can agree that this isn't what we believe. These aren't the values of the Valley. These aren't the conservative values of the Valley. These aren't the Christian values of the Valley. But the interesting thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that the reason why this is coming to light, why this is even being considered, is for the almighty dollar, unfortunately. Why? Because they want to close the church. They want the land for economic development. What bothers me is that these individuals aren't seeing the big picture. Now, while the judge claims that his legal department sent that letter by mistake, make no question, the mistake was that they actually did this, and they didn't even have the decency to contact this church beforehand. Why? Because this was all done in executive session. The letter that was received by the Chapel by the Sea church located in South Padre Island was because a meeting was held in executive session back on June the 2nd. Now, in these type of instances, ladies and gentlemen, there are no mistakes. The reason why now they're saying that, oops, my bad, was because of the negative press. People, you heard the leader of that church state that he's been getting hundreds of phone calls all the way up to Canada. Why? Because this church in particular, their members, they're possibly locals, possibly from the local community, but also they serve people throughout the world. South Padre Island has visitors anywhere between 8 to 10 million in 2024. How many of those go to Chapel by the Sea? I would dare argue a good chunk of them. They go on Sunday morning. They go and praise their God. Now, I'm not here to talk about denominations. I'm not here to talk about religion. My job before you is never, ever to convince you. My grandfather is a preacher, and he always said, my job isn't to convince them. My job is to teach them the word of God. What they do with that information is out of my hands. That's something that he would say. God does not want us by force. I do not want people to say, oh, well, what denomination are they? Then I'll tell you how I feel about the subject. You and I can agree that religion is good for us. We opened up our segment of talking about the different reasons why people look to God. Life is difficult. People, unfortunately, resort to substances, illicit substances, narcotics, alcohol, sex, porn, and other things that aren't good for our soul, that aren't good for the body. Other people rely on religion. They're zealous in their faith. And that is how they get on. They keep on marching day after day. This life that we live is tough. It's rigorous. It's not easy. Religion helps us move on. Continue with that. Is this a money grab that the county commissioner's court is seeing, the almighty dollar? What I want to talk about, and I don't want this to be misconstrued, because people say, "Oh, Frankie, you're beginning to sound like a Republican." Good Morning Bronzo does not favor one party. Good Morning Bronzo is here for you, the community. It doesn't matter what party or the issue in which these parties, how they favor that issue. My job is to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how we can fix Brownsville, how we can fix Cameron County. Why? Because for far too long, individuals have used your seat, our seat, in an elective position to benefit and enrich themselves. It shouldn't be that way, people. Our politicians should work for us. Unfortunately, Cameron County, Brownsville, South Texas has seen, and we have had a black eye through corruption, through compadrismo. Things that we hear about Mexico, about Matamoros, we're starting to see it here in our doorstep at City Hall. Our job, ladies and gentlemen, isn't to favor one party or the other. My job is to fight for you, together, collectively, we can make a positive change. We can make a difference. That is what we're all about. Ultimately, you want a better quality of life. If you don't, you should. If not for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, for the future generations. That is what it's all about. Our family, they work hard to give us a better life. And they say, I'm going to give my kids what I didn't have. And that should be every generation's goal. Tenemos que superarlo. We have to do better. Maybe our parents, our grandparents could only give us so much, but now it's up to us to take it another level. And that is my job, to provide a better quality of life for you. Many people might laugh, but this mic, ladies and gentlemen, has been very powerful. And I'm very thankful for that, Brownsville, because it shows us that we're onto something. So whenever I talk about a certain party, and on Friday, we will be talking about the biggest cover-up in modern times. So make sure you tune in for Friday, because we will talk about both parties. Again, my job here isn't to protect one party or the other. My job isn't to protect a politico. My job is to call the politicos out. Remember, this is nothing personal. I have nothing against the Democratic Party. I have nothing against the Republican Party. We're just business. Just business. What we have seen, unfortunately, is how individuals have been realizing that maybe the Democratic Party here locally is losing touch with their constituents. It is no secret that November 2024 presidential elections, we saw how Cameron County, South Texas, was painted red. Trump won because the National Democratic Party just couldn't give us a fighting chance. Are we starting to see that Brownsville, Cameron County, South Texas is starting to turn red? Possibly. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because we have local Democrats within our community that they talk about that there is a difference between the Democratic Party at the national level and here in the Rio Grande Valley. They claim that they are traditional, the traditional Democratic Party. The Cameron County Commissioner's Court, which is predominantly Democrat, they want to close the church in South Padre. When we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the reasons why is it called South Padre? Why is it called Isla del Padre? Because of God. That's why. Who can forget, ladies and gentlemen? Who can forget of the famous Espiritu Santo land grant, which was a Spanish land grant for us here in South Texas? It was awarded in 1781 to José Salvador de la Garza, and it encompassed over 280 acres of land. And that land eventually became the foundation for the city of Brownsville, Texas. The grant was initially part of the Louisiana Purchase, held by France, and later passed down to the Spanish Crown. This location that I have before you on the screen, it stretched from the Rio Grande Valley River to the Arroyo Colorado. This encompasses a large part of Cameron County. They're going to call it American Island. A large part of Rancho Viejo was established with this grant. This grant, ladies and gentlemen, it played a crucial role in the development of the region. This is a historical, monumentous event. Now, when we think about this land grant, we're talking about years and years, descendants, families. And lots of disputes over this land. It is interesting because this Espiritu Santo land grant is the foundation for South Texas history. And they want to close the church? What in the world? Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? They want to close the church. Why do they want to close a church? Because of economic development. Now, what is the benefit of a county creating economic development, you might ask? Well, creating economic development at the county level, it provides several important benefits that can improve the overall well-being of the community. Frankie, you're talking about creating a better quality of life. Shouldn't you be in support of this? Well, economic development provides job creation, new businesses, and the expansion of existing ones, which leads to more employment opportunities for residents. It reduces unemployment. It increases household income. It increases tax revenue. More businesses and higher incomes leads to higher property sales and income tax collections, which ultimately fund services such as schools, infrastructure, and emergency services. Yes, it does improve quality of life. We can provide and have better public amenities. Healthcare, parks, transportation, housing. It attracts businesses. Counties that invest in economic development become more attractive to new investors, companies, and entrepreneurs. It could also lead to infrastructure development. It improves transportation, utilities, and technology. It creates a diverse economy. It reduces poverty and crime. Economic development does help counties build a stronger, more vibrant, and sustainable local economy. Residents will benefit, businesses will benefit, and the community as a whole will benefit. But at what cost, ladies and gentlemen? At what cost? Again, the Cameron County Commissioner's Court, if I'm not mistaken, is predominantly made up of Democrats. Our county judge is a Democrat. We have seen, and this is no secret, we have seen how people slowly have been leaving the Democratic Party here in the Valley. You might ask, well, why? We have people such as Bam Bam Morales, Keith Allen, who are potential candidates for the Congressional District 34, currently held by Vicente Gonzalez. Why are these people even being considered? Because they're pastors. And maybe they share values and morals with people of the Rio Grande Valley. When we talk about values, ladies and gentlemen, Our values could be found in our homes, in our communities, but more importantly, they could be found in our churches. But when the politicos don't represent these values, the people eventually will leave. I'm not making this up. You have seen this firsthand. The Republican Party is interested in having your vote. Why? Because more and more people in South Texas are turning Republicans. Why? Because they represent what you believe in. Unfortunately, our local Republican Party does not understand how to communicate those values. They have a hard time conveying that message to the community. But what we have seen from this is that the traditional Democratic Party are losing. Why are they losing? Well, when we talk about what we have seen here locally, don't you remember when they painted the sidewalk rainbow? When they flew the flag, the LGBTQ flag, in the same area where they hang the flag of the United States and flag of the city? Again, I have nothing against the LGBTQ community. Nothing. But what have Democrats done here locally and possibly at the national level? They're okay with drag queen shows. Nothing wrong with them. Many people have questioned, why are they allowing children around them? Why are they openly encouraging children to participate? The Democratic Party is okay with illegals running rampant. Yesterday, we had a show on how federal agents were being targeted here locally in McAllen, Texas, 30 minutes away from us. And now we see how the Democratic Party want to get them out. Now, it's interesting because it's kind of, I don't want to say tricky, but the reason why they're trying to kick these people out was because of a lease agreement. What they say, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lease agreement between the church and the county has caused confusion. The county approved a 50-year lease back in 1979, which that's set to end in 5 years. So it came to a surprise whenever church leaders received this letter that they had to vacate the premises at the end of this year. Imagine that you're serving the community, doing what's needed, and then you're being forced to leave. And then to top it off, this was done behind closed doors. This was done without even them being considered. The interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, about all this was that, oh, my bad, my mistake. These aren't mistakes that are done. Why? Because legal does not send that out, does not send these correspondence and I would dare say these threatening correspondence, without the approval of commissioner's court and without the approval of the judge. Because if they don't, they'll get in trouble. So the county judge did come on TV and say, oops, my bad, it was a mistake. They issued a press release to request a meeting with the chapel to discuss these lease issues. So the letter said one thing, hey, vacate at the end of the year. And then the press release after this blew up said, oh, no. Our legal team is only reviewing the existing lease to see how much land the church is using and what was in the original agreement. Now, the judge did state that they are looking at a possible new agreement where the church can continue to operate. But the damage, ladies and gentlemen, the damage is already done. An agreement has been made. Some say it's a 100-year lease. Some say it's a 50-year lease. A contract, an agreement is a contract. Now, why do they want this? Because of money. It's always about the money, ladies and gentlemen. Who cares that these institutions, they provide comfort, they provide hope. Maybe they provide counseling for people grieving. And that is being considered to be taken away. It's always about the money, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. How do you feel about this, Brownsville? Are you okay with the county threatening the church? Again, they're going to say, oh, Frankie, you're blowing this out of proportion. It was a mistake. No. If the intention of the county was for them to review the lease agreement, they would have invited church leaders to have a discussion. Let's talk about this. It wasn't until after the letter was sent, until after the leader said, oh man, we're being told to vacate. And then they made a big fuss about it. The county said, oh, no. My bad. It's funny how things now are totally different. Before it was vacate at the end of the year. Now it's, well, we're reviewing the options. How do you feel about this, Cameron County? How do you feel about your leaders not even giving the decency, the courtesy of reaching out to them? Did they threaten them? Yes, they did. They can try and wishy-wash it. They can try and backtrack, but they know the damage is done. Is this going to be more ammunition for potential Cameron County judges, Mauro Garza, Steve Guerra, that they're going to use this? You know, the primaries are right around the corner. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, how our politicos operate. They threaten you. They say, oh, no. It's not like that. There was a misunderstanding. That's a huge misunderstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, is Cameron County closing a church for money? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with our Democratic leaders shutting down a church for economic development? Screw religion. Screw God. What does the Bible say about money? The root of all evil is the almighty feria. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Bronzo.